Two Days in the Valley is a black comedy, thriller, noir, crime type film that was released in 1996, and it was directed by John Herzfeld.
Yeah, it's one of those Pulp Fiction style films that's got a big ensemble cast and has lots of different story threads that seem unconnected at the beginning, but as the story progresses, they converge, and all the characters at some point meet. So you've got two hitmen played by Danny Aiello. You'd probably recognise Danny Aiello from Godfather Part 2 and Leon. And James Spader, who you recognise from loads of stuff. Stargate.
Crash.
Yeah, Crash.
Secretary.
Yeah, that too. And he's big on TV at the moment in The Blacklist. And they encounter another character played by Teri Hatcher from Desperate Housewives in the last sort of decade. But probably just before this film, she was in that Superman TV series with Dean Cain. So this is sort of between those two series. And then she encounters a couple of cops played by Eric Stolz. Getting loads and loads of 80s movies.
3 with James Spader.
Yes,
apparently.
so they've worked together a lot, yeah.
Quite a lot.
He was in The Fly too, wasn't he?
He was. Oh, God, that film, yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. Pulp Fiction he was in.
Pulp Fiction, yeah. Then the other cop, Jeff Daniels, again, loads of stuff. Speed, Something, what was that film?
Something Wild.
Something Wild, that's the one, Jonathan Demme, yeah.
Great film.
And Dumb and Dumber, obviously. Absolute classic. And it is. And again, another one of these actors, which is very common these days, who's had, big hit on TV. He was in The Newsroom, a few years back. Very good TV show. So then we encounter some more characters.
Yeah, and the first one of those you're introduced to is a film director, or TV and film director, who's kind of fallen from grace slightly over the last few years. He himself is played by an actual film director, Paul Mazursky, who was, mainly famous in the 70s. He made some really good films, kind of independent films back then. He did Next Stop Greenwich Village, Alice in Wonderland with Donald Sutherland, and Down and Out in Beverly Hills. You see that one?
Yeah.
Good Nick Nolte, Richard Dreyfuss film. Good film. At the time we meet him, he's actually being evicted from his house with a small cameo by his landlord or landlady, played by Louise Fletcher, of course, most famous for playing Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He then goes off, and the next scene he meets a nurse, played by Marsha Mason, another actor. Did a lot of work in the mid to late 70s. Particular favourite of mine is Cinderella Liberty with James Caan, really good film. She also turned up later on in Drop Dead Fred, that great film.
Yeah.
I think she was the mean bitch mother of Phoebe Cates. And she's done her, probably you find on TV. She hasn't seen her that much recently. Then leading on from her brother, who's the next character you meet, played by a British guy, he's an art dealer, a very bit of a vile art dealer. Played by British actor Greg Crutwell, who hasn't done that much films, although before this one he was in Mike Leigh's Naked, playing pretty much the same character, although perhaps even more vile, kind of a misogynistic sexual predator he plays in that film, and there's similar vibes going on in this one. Then you have his PA, well, he's this art dealer, so he has a PA and assistant who he is pretty horrendous to, played by Glenne Headley, who sadly passed away a couple of months ago, June I think this year. She was in Paper House, the Bernard Rose film back in the 80s, and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Michael Caine and Steve Martin. And she's again, I think she was working on a TV show at the time of her death. A lot of these actors, TV actors.
There's a little cameo, well, I guess you could call it a cameo, from Keith Carradine as a detective who investigates the hit performed by the aforementioned hitmen. A big back catalogue of films under his belt.
Huge.
Yeah.
And a big family that comes from other Carradines.
Exactly. Most recently I've seen him in Fargo TV series. Last but not least is Charlize Theron, who is, you see her quite early on in the film, but she's always sort of in the background, doesn't really interact with many of the other characters, and she's playing a sort of a femme fatale, I guess.
Kind of femme fatale vamp type character.
But she must have been about 20 odd when she made this, so she very early in her career, and but yeah, still obviously of all the actors in this, probably at the moment the most famous, I would say. She's got Atomic Blonde that's just come out. She was in the Mad Max film a couple of years ago, and and loads of films in between this and that. So still going strong.
So there's a soundtrack and a score. The soundtrack kind of comprises similar songs that you'd find on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. A bit of soul in there, a bit of funk and rock. I think The Time, that band that were featured in that Jay and Silent Bob film, they're on there and they're quite funky, so it sounds a bit like some of the Pulp Fiction stuff on as well. There's a score composed by Anthony Marinelli. He's done a few things. He did Young Guns and Leaving Las Vegas. Yeah, so the film itself, well, what did we think of the film?
It's a good one. I mean, yeah, there was loads of this sort of film coming out, around the mid-90s, thanks to Pulp Fiction. Yes, we've mentioned it again. But, it had such an impact on cinema at that time. There was just a glut of films that were all of a sudden green-lit. Some of them not so great. But this one, I think it stands up. I think.
Yeah, it's got a good script.
Yeah,
it's very funny. There are some very funny moments in it, kind of Psych type gags.
Yeah.
And a couple of written gags as well. But I think it's specifically from like Danny Aiello. His character's very funny, and the situation that he gets into is very funny.
Almost descending into slapstick at times, but not quite.
Almost, that is true.
A fine line, which I think he just about keeps on the right side off. That's
true.
And James Spader is particularly creepy.
Well, he's he's that kind of very nasty hitman in it, and he does that well. The film itself is kind of about, again, we're not going to give everything away, but it is the main thread of the film is about kind of people that haven't quite made it in life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the running link that all these characters have.
The area that the film is set in, the valley, is, whether it still is now, I don't know, but according to the director, when they were filming it, it's for a lot of people who maybe haven't made it, maybe in Hollywood or wherever. So that's kind of why it's set there and why the characters, are all slightly, not failures, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely, if you haven't seen it, then we recommend giving it a shot, because it's definitely, if you like those kind of films, those 90s, lots of thread, lots of stories coming together. I mean, again, we don't want to keep talking about Tarantino, also like Robert Altman, films like Shortcuts, things like that, where you have lots of different threads, storylines coming together, converging over time. The big question is can you see it at the moment? Because it's quite old.
It's on DVD. You can pick it up dirt cheap now. It could really do with the Blu-ray, I think, to be honest, because the DVD isn't the best looking I've ever seen. But yeah, you can stream it. I think it's on Amazon if you want to rent it. So you can definitely see it. It's not hard to track down. So yeah, definitely recommend that you check it out if that's your kind of thing you're into.
Yeah, and talking about its age, I mean, last year it was 20 years old, and I think somewhere in America they had, or LA, they had a like a reunion. They screened the film, and they brought out the director, I think the producer, and Charlize Theron and Glenne Headley. So I guess that was probably one of the last things she did. And they just about half an hour they talk about the film. It's quite interesting. There's a couple of facts in there you may not have heard of before, so that's quite worth checking out. And we'll put the link down below as you do.
Or maybe, is there any spoilers in it?
Maybe.
So maybe don't watch it before the film.
Maybe watch the film first, and then, or if you've seen it, because I'm sure many of you will have seen it, then go and check it out, because you might learn something you hadn't known before. And that's 2 Days in the Valley.
Yeah. So if you like it, leave us a comment. If you don't like it, let us know that as well if you want, and we can open up a discussion about it. If you like the video, obviously click the like button, subscribe if you want to see more of our stuff. We've got other videos for you to check out if you want. And we're on Twitter as well, might be on Facebook as well soon, so look out for the link for that. But our Twitter link is below, so check us out on there, follow us, and get all the updates for new videos and all the other wondrous twitterings we have.
Indeed, join in the fun.
Exactly.
And thank you for watching this one, and thank you for watching the other ones if you have watched them. And we shall see you next time.
Bye for now.